We'll just do a quick uh, look at shloka number 22 onwards in chapter 8. Then we'll do summary, and then we'll have some question answers on chapter 8, and then we'll start chapter 9. Okay. So in shloka number 22, we saw that Purush which is staying in the body, which is called Pur. Okay, so that is why it's called Purush, and it's also because it is Paripurn. That's why it's called Purush. And it is the thing in which all is manifested. कार्य कारण के अंतर्गति होता है. We were trying to understand that last time. जो कार्य है, जो outcome है, जो form है, that is there in that which is the cause of it. Have we got that, or we have not understood that? I'd like to repeat that, because that will come again and again. वो बार बार आएगा और फिर उसमें एक बार ही नहीं समझेंगे तो फिर बाद में भी समझ में आने में टाइम लगता है. कार्य में कारण अनुगत होता है, अंतर्वर्ती होता है. कोई समझाएगा?
You gave an example that I'm going there. So the karya is going there, and the karan is you want to go there. That's what I remember the example you are taken to explain this.
Yeah. So that is one example. Any other example? Anybody
It
wants?
said that the pot,
Correct.
is inherent in the clay, or there's a potential.
Absolutely. So the form of the pot, okay, is inherent in the clay itself. In that sense as well.
So that the other example which come multiple times is the suit and the
Correct.
cloth.
As well as the cloth and the thread which is there, or the cotton which is there. So have you got the relationship, or you want to repeat it aloud? Whoever wants to repeat it aloud to understand it can repeat it aloud. All these examples were taken.
So is it right to think that there is cause and effect, karan and karya, cause and effect. So the cause is in the effect.
Effect is
the effect is potentially in the cause.
correct.
Right?
Effect is inherently in the cause.
And so the effect may not happen at all, but it's inherently there in the cause.
Yeah.
Here the word outcome is used. So outcome will happen.
Yeah. So as soon as the effect happens, then you can say that the effect was inherent in the cause.
So this is important to remember for this chapter.
It is important to remember
for
this
life.
to understand Vedanta. Okay.
So
Now
I think there is
let's
a
take
subtle
in
difference between this, which is inherent in, and the normal cause and effect.
Correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct. So let's understand. Okay, why are we saying this? Now we say that everything has been, the cause of this existence is Brahma. Right? The effect is this universe. Right? Inherent in Brahma is this universe. In that sense as well, what happens? Brahma becomes all pervasive. Okay? Just simply, the logic just comes very easily once you understand this aspect of effect being inherently being there in the cause. Okay?
And whether this pralay and the universe goes away or not is always inherent in Brahma.
Correct. Because one day of the Brahma is equal to 1,000 yugas, and one yuga will have some 30 lakhs of years or whatever. And therefore, it is such a large day. So anything which is happening in terms of coming and going, or even he goes to sleep and he wakes up, okay, he is going to continue with the same set of impressions which you are carrying from one birth to another. Those impressions are not going to go away. Okay. So the aspect of karma never dies. Rahul, you would like to come here? The seat vacant. And similarly, therefore, that there is, if somebody will say कि अब प्रलय हो जाएगा तो मेरे सब कर्म समाप्त हो जाएंगे, अब मेरे को और दुख नहीं सहने पड़ेंगे, आगे के जो मैं इस समय कर्म बुरे कर्म भी करूंगा, आगे जो है बच के निकल जाऊंगा, वो सब चीजें नहीं हो सकती. ठीक है. तो ये इन्होंने बताया. उसके बाद में उन्होंने कहा कि ये जो व्यक्ति है जो इस प्रकार से अपनी बुद्धि में ये समझ लेके आता है और समझता है कि ये इसका उत्पादन जो है पुरुष द्वारा ही हुआ है और पुरुष ही है सब कुछ, तो वो किस मार्ग पे, किस पथ से जो है गुजरता है धीरे धीरे करके. दिस इज क्रमशः, it is sequentially it is happening. Okay? It is not happening spontaneously. Okay? We'll understand this part a little as we go along. Okay? So here we are seeing that here every if he goes through the path which is going to through the path where he dies at the time when it is light, and it is the Shukla Paksh of the moon. Okay, the moon is in ascendancy, and he is in the Uttarayan, which is the northern movement of the sun. Then he is over a period of time sequentially going to get this, and he is likely to get moksha slowly. And the other way around, that if he is going to be passing away at the time of death, he is going to be in darkness, and it is in the Krishna Paksh of the moon, and it is in the Dakshinayan mode. The sun moves southward. Then it is likely that he will come back for rebirth. That there are devtas associated with each of these: the light, the fire, the darkness. And these devtas are supposed to assist in the movement of the person in terms of taking rebirth or not. Okay, so that was the other aspect which got covered in the shlokas which we read from 22 onwards.
This is not symbolic. This is, the truth of this.
So then
movement.
we'll then look at the shloka number 27, where that is
Now
explained.
this is, I'm glad you asked this.
No, no,
Because in my mind, it's metaphorical or it is physical?
It is physical, okay, not just metaphorical. But what is it? इन उपर्युक्त दोनों मार्गों को इस प्रकार जानने वाला, the person who knows these two paths are the possible paths which may occur at the time of death, एक पुनर्जन्म रूप संसार को देने वाला है और दूसरा मोक्ष का कारण है. Okay, so we have understood one of them leads to rebirth and the other one is a step towards moksha.
But death is not in anyone's hand.
So we understand.
So it depends.
That's what it is said here.
Also, 6 months is Uttarayan, 6 months is Dakshinayan.
But
15 days is Shukla Paksh, 16 days is Krishna Paksh.
Yeah, so it's
So
50%.
it's saying half the time.
एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था. बीच में पे था, मैंने मांगा था ना this time. So he knew कि कृष्ण जी कौन है.
Who said?
Go ahead.
So he died in Uttarayan. प्राण उन्होंने
Waited.
उत्तरायण में छोड़ा.
We waited.
If I remember.
Correct.
Correct.
But this is
So-
really depressing what you said. It's a step towards moksha. Step means again rebirth.
Yeah, but it's likely to take you there. Likely to take you there.
But if somebody's been practicing all this, and
That's why I
is
want
dying
to.
in,
That's why I want to read this shloka number 27, because some of these questions will get sorted out. Okay. कोई भी योगी मोहित नहीं होता. He is not going to think about any of these two paths, because he understands that whilst one is, I may in the next birth fall back again. So it is just a transitory period. It is not as if it is something which is totally written in hard stone that you will in the next round not. Okay, it will depend on what you are going to have your karmas as. So कोई मोहित नहीं होता. He doesn't get distracted. He is not delusioned by it. It is just for your understanding that this is so, because there is a certain set of things he is trying to explain. What is he trying to explain? That the person who is following the path as described in this particular chapter, which is taking you across, it is Tarak Brahma Yoga. Okay, so that which is taking you beyond the normal Brahma Yoga. What is it Brahma Yoga he's talked about? He's talked about that which you are holding as breath, putting your mind on Om. The Akshar Om has been specified here. That Akshar imperishable has been specified here. That yoga is going to take you through this set of steps, because it has been asked, इसके बाद में क्या होता है. ठीक, तो इसमें कोई मोह की बात नहीं, इसमें कोई ज़्यादा सोचने की बात नहीं. जो होता है वो एक सिलसिले अनुसार as per the karmas of the individual it will go on. Okay. अब इसके बाद में उन्होंने कहा कि इनको जानकर, अर्थात इन 7 प्रश्नों के निर्णय द्वारा. So these 7 questions which are asked at the beginning of the chapter, understanding the answers of this, रहस्य को और यथार्थ समझकर, properly, truthfully you understand them. What were the 7 questions?
What is
ब्रह्म क्या है,
अध्यात्म,
अध्यात्म क्या है, कर्म क्या है,
आदिभूत,
आदिभूत, आदिदेव,
अंत में क्या है?
आदि यज्ञ, और अंत में क्या होता है. तो अब हमने 7 प्रश्न यहाँ पर देख लिए. ठीक है, उनका उत्तर देख लिया है. उसके बाद में क्या होता है वो भी उन्होंने बता दिया. तो ये चीजें समझ जाता है और उसका अनुष्ठान करके योगी पुरुष भली भांति पढ़े हुए वेद. So he is practicing some of the things which has been said here, and he reads the right texts. पढ़े हुए वेद, श्रेष्ठ गुणों सहित संपादन किए हुए यज्ञ. So in proper manner he is done the yajnas which have been specified. भली प्रकार किए हुए तप, penances. Okay, और यथार्थ पात्र को दिए हुए दान. तो यज्ञ, तप और दान, तीनों चीजों का यहाँ पर पहली बारी उन्होंने बताया है कुछ, और ये चीज बाद में जाके समझनी पड़ेगी कि कैसे यज्ञ होता है, क्या यज्ञ होता है. थोड़ा यज्ञ हमने समझा है पहले, तप क्या होता है, और तप के बारे में भी इधर उधर बताया है उन्होंने, पर किस प्रकार का तप होता है, और दान कैसे होता है, तो वो दान भी जो है समझेंगे. ये यथार्थ रूप से ये चीजें करते हुए वो सब चीजों को अतिक्रम कर जाता है. 7 questions, understanding them, Vedas, practicing what has been given here, and doing proper yajna tap dan, he is able to transcend this particular space, and he attains the ultimate Brahma. So this is what has been said in a sense, shloka wise, between 22 and 28. Now we can have her summarize it for us. She does it so well. We all get inspired.
She's a true frontman.
Yes. And then we will have question answers. Okay?
Why in camera I could
It's okay.
Can you face us? Then we can hear you better.
I'm sorry.
Can she face us? Or
It's okay. It's okay. She has to face the camera also.
You can listen to the recording later on.
Sure. Makes one conscious.
No, no, I understand, but we'll take you through it. Okay. So how did it start?
Yes. So
It started by looking at those three concepts which were left in chapter 7. Please start.
yes, at the end of chapter 7, Bhagwan mentions certain very specific terms which form the basis of
Questions.
questions raised by Arjun at the beginning of chapter 8 as to what is Brahm Tattva or Brahman, what is Adhyatma, what is Karan, what is Adibhut, Adidev, Adiyagya, and what is the state of the mind of the person, the yogi who has concentrated his mind, and how is Brahman known to him at the time of his death. So, Bhagwan clarifies the questions and gives the answers that imperishable Paramatma is Brahman, and by whose authority and rules the universe of the Jagat is operating. That inner sense that Brahman which resides in each being and is the true nature or Swabhav, that is Adhyatma. Karam is that sacrificial offering which is essentially the seed of the creation. It gives rise to rain or Krishti, which then leads to creation of the universe or beings in a sequential manner. Then Adibhut is that which shelters all beings and it is existent in all beings. Adidev is also known as a Purush. It fulfills the world and it supports all the cognition and actions of the senses. Adiyagya is that authority or the basis by which yagya is performed, and it is Vishnu itself, as per the Upanishad. Then the how the state, the concentrated yoga, the mind of the yogi, which is concentrated on Paramatma, and he remembers Paramatma at the time of death, he attains Paramatma.
Correct.
But that jiva who has some other sense in his memory, it could be a special deity, so the person attains to that deity. Or it could be any other worldly sense. And then this is the cause for obtaining rebirth. So then Bhagwan says that Arjun should remember him at all times and perform his duty as prescribed in the Shastras and fight the battle.
Yeah.
And his mind and intellect should be totally surrendered to Vasudev, and this state of mind is attained through repeated practice. So one has to repetitively focus on Paramatma and remove all the opposing distracting thoughts. So this practice is also abhyas or yoga. So those who follow the shastras correctly and the teachings of the acharya and focus their mind in such a manner with proper devotion to the Paramatma, then they understand and attain that ultimate essence. So that Paramatma, who is omniscient, he knows the past, future, present of all beings, the ancient one, the supreme ruler, and the most subtle essence in the universe. Then he makes all the laws pertaining to the fruits of the actions and dispenses them in appropriate measures. And Paramatma has no form on which one can contemplate. Paramatma is inconceivable. And like the sun is resplendent, luminous with the timeless light of eternal consciousness, and always beyond the darkness of ignorance and delusion. And then Bhagwan mentions how such a yogi, in the final moments or at the hour of death, would remember the Paramatma. So, keeping his mind unflickering and with proper devotion and strength of his yoga, then stabilizing the mind in the Anhad or heart chakra and ascending along the Vishuddhi chakra to the Agya chakra between the eyebrows and the forehead, stabilize his pran, and then remembering the Paramatma, attain that Paramatma. So then Bhagwan says that this Paramatma is imperishable, Brahman,
with the thought of Om
with
and
the-
understanding that Om itself is that Akshar Paramatma.
yes. So, and this is the sole theme of all the Vedas, and this is what the Veda knowers understand.
Absolutely.
And then there is a reference to a question in the Upanishad, question which has been raised by Satyakam to Rishi Pipalad in Prashna Upanishad, that those persons who contemplate on Om throughout their entire life, which world do they attain at the time of their death? So here, Om Akshar is explained that it uh, represents or denotes that imperishable Brahman. And for those who may not directly be able to undertake the process of inquiry as per the Gyan, for them this method helps to attain that ultimate state of Brahman. So it is an image and sign of that Brahman. And then there are certain yogic practices by which Om can be chanted. And the yogi, after controlling all his senses, uh, controlling his mind and stabilizing it again in the lotus of the heart or the Anahata chakra, ascends upwards to the Agya chakra and then chants Om with the understanding that this denotes Brahman and contemplates upon Brahman, and in this way, continuing this practice throughout the entire life, he attains Brahman. And then Bhagwan also mentions two more attributes uh, for focusing on the Paramatma. And one is one should be single-mindedness or ananyaja. And one must remember Paramatma uninterruptedly, that is constantly throughout the life of the person. And then what happens after attaining Bhagwan? So Bhagwan says there is no rebirth. And rebirth is the cause of all sufferings. And it is also an ephemeral state. But then there's another question, that what about those beings who attain higher lokas than this world, but not Brahman? So are they also subject to
Rebirth.
being, yes, rebirth? So then Bhagavan clarifies that all lokas, even up to Brahmlok, are recurring in nature. They are determined in time. And those who understand the dimensions of time know that one day of Brahma is 1000 yugas, and one night of Brahma is also 1000 yugas. And at the beginning of the day, from the unmanifested Prakriti, all the beings and also the inert matter comes into the world. And at the night time of Brahma, all this dissolves. And then there is a doubt that during these sort of magnitude of time changes, whether the past impressions due to karmas also change. So that doubt has also been clarified, that if an action has not been performed, there is no outcome or any fruit whatsoever, and only those fruits are obtained for which an action has been performed. So even if kalpas change, one kalpa is equal to 1,000 yugas. So even then, these impressions of previous karmas remain the same. And so one is in a state of bondage. And also, the cause of suffering has been further given, that this is due to the ignorance, pride in identity, desire, aversion, and fear of death. And living or beings are born in multitude at the beginning of the kalpas, and again at the end of the kalpas, they dissolve in multitude. And this cycle goes on continuously until the time one attains Brahman. And with this understanding, the Shastras give direction to those who seek to get liberated. Then Bhagwan elucidates further on Brahman, which is imperishable, eternal, unmanifest, totally different from the Prakriti and beyond that Prakriti. And so Brahman cannot be perceived by any of the senses. Then, at the time of destruction, or when all the world dissolves, Brahman is ever existent and Brahman is not destroyed. And then Brahman is beyond Maya or ignorance. So those who have attained this reach an unsurpassed state, a supreme state, from which they do not return because they have transcended Prakriti or Maya. So they do not come back to Maya. And then today we have discussed that this Brahman is also called Purush, because Brahman resides in each body, which is been called as Pur, or that nine-gated city we had read earlier. And Brahman is the essence of everything, the most subtle essence of everything that exists. And Brahman is the cause of this entire world. So the outcome, this world is an outcome of the underlying cause or essence, which is Brahman. And those yogis who are going through this path of Om, and they have two further sort of paths, the Uttarayan and the Dakshinayan path. So in the Uttarayan path, the various devtas of light, day,
So there are two type of yogis.
yes,
One are devotees and the other one are the karma yogis who will go along this path. Go on.
yes. So in the Uttarayan path, they will, over a period of time, attain Brahman. But those who follow the Dakshinayan path, their practices are to fulfill some worldly desires. So they will come back into this cycle of rebirth. Bhagavan tells Arjun that he should actually focus or remember the Paramatma at all times and not get deluded by any of the paths like this. And then Bhagavan concludes by saying that those yogis who focus on him, who learn all the Vedas, who are able to perform all the yajnas with correct practices, the correct penances, and also the charity uh, where it is deserved. They not only get the meritorious fruits of all these actions, but they also attain that moksha. Yes. Thank you. It is thanks to him.
Amazing.
Guides, I mean,
No, no.
Nobody guides all of us
Yeah.
and still we come up with
All of us are listening to the same thing.
Some other people can also try.
The
No,
beyond
it's
us.
open. Yeah. Anybody else wants to try?
not now.
No, no, no. It's all Bhagwan ki aapki deen hai. Very nice.
Yes, the way she explained is still different. My question, you need not answer. But Shlok 26
Yeah.
doesn't talk about Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha. It talks about light of knowledge is Shukla, that's a light, and darkness is Krishna. And not the physical. Sorry, the same question that you
Yeah.
raised again.
Yeah. Yeah, so possibly what you're right. Metaphorically also it could be said
Yeah.
so. But then to define those 4 steps, we have not seen that, right? So why are there 4 different devtas which are following it? The devta, the deity of the light, the deity of the day, the deity of the 15 days, and the deity of the 6 months. So the 4 deities. So since I have not read anything about them, so I am not commenting whether it is metaphorical or otherwise. Okay, I am treating it as just.
No,
as,
I said you
I'm-
don't have
I'm-
to.
I'm-
I don't. You don't have to answer.
I know. I'm just saying what was the first thought, and then it has got sort of carried forward. Maybe there'll be somebody who will somewhere it'll be written, and somebody may have defined the metaphors also behind it. But see, the important thing in reading Gita or any of the text is to understand what is the essence and try and practice it. So, for example, when we started this Bhagwad Gita, focusing on the pronunciation and uh, the shlokas and the intonations of the shlokas, whilst it is good, it is going to help us. It is going to quieten our mind. It will focus our mind. But we don't do it because also it is not that important. So words are not as important as trying to grasp what is it that it is. And that's where I think our focus is constantly there. Often enough, therefore, when I'm using words from Hindi to English, it is sometimes going to lose certain meanings and senses. So you have to sort of look at Hindi also. I've given you another text, Chhota Wala Jo Kitab Hai, which is direct translation from Sanskrit to Hindi. There is nobody who's doing any other thing in terms of adding any commentary on it. So if you can understand that Hindi word, then you can maybe make sense of what exactly is Bhagwan trying to say. Also, the way we understand it individually will differ. Okay, so that also you have to sort of grapple with when you're trying to grasp some of these concepts. And when we go into doing Aparoksh and chapter 13 and other places, we'll be focusing on that as to what is it that you have understood out of it. Okay, because till you don't grasp that concept, okay, it is not going to sort of help you. We have tried to do that, right? So we will do it again. And it's important because till the time those concepts are not going to be clear, logic is not going to be clear, well, there is a lot of stuff which is happening in Sagun, a lot of stuff which is being said in Nirgun, and all that is going to be not making to you'll get carried away. You'll lose it all. That's what I mean. So we'll try and continue to pick up these things like what I did this time, because I remember when we did this in Aparokshanubhuti, we had a lot of difficulty in understanding. कार्य में कारण अनुगत है, कारण में कार्य अनुगत है, कार्य में Karan mein.
Karan.
Karan mein, Karan. So more questions, Sal, before we start chapter 9.
So you said rightly, the final essence is
Practice
in practicing
and
in life. But
understanding.
I don't know. We are all different stages, different preparation. I am the first stage of intellectually trying to understand. Is there any tricks or tips to convert from intellectual understanding to internalizing, imbibing, and the last step of living it or practicing it?
So somebody can write down this question. It's a very important question. Okay? So let's look at this chapter alone. What are those things which have been said by Krishna Bhagwan, which you can put to practice? Let's start with that. Without having too much of figuring out too much. So let's ask that question and let's get some answers. In this chapter alone, Bhagwan has given some guidance on what could be done, what understandings should you carry, which could be practiced, which will help you to realize more than intellectual stuff.
Remembering
Yeah.
Bhagwan.
Yeah, remembering Bhagwan constantly. Om.
Yes.
So what is he told Krishna? What is he told Arjun? You fight your war.
Yeah. And remember me always.
Only remember me. And I have said this, that just like we know that if there's a child at home or there's somebody else which is going to create mischief or something at home, whilst you're doing anything you're doing at home, your attention, the mind is always somewhere there,
Do your karma and remember him.
constantly. Now that's, I think, the second or third most powerful statement which Krishna Bhagwan has said in Gita, in terms of a practical thing,
Very important. Very important.
right? First, of course, he said is do your karma. This is probably the second most important thing. It's the easiest thing,
Yeah.
in a sense. Do your karma.
Very helpful. Very helpful.
Right?
The first was that, second is.
Huh? And there are such huge nuggets which are lying there, okay, in between these also, which if you are focusing on. So, for example, what do you remember him to be? Next question. So, whilst you are doing your actions, performing your actions, where is your mind? At the background, it is on Bhagwan. Okay, Brahma, Ishwar. So, where should it be? It could be in Vasudev, which is Sagun. It could be in so and so. Then he takes you to Akshar, imperishable Brahma, Akshar Brahma, and he says Om.
Oh,
So if you're in your sense inside you somewhere, Om is resounding again and again, again and again, and you're doing your karma.
very helpful. Very helpful.
It could be. Okay. Now, that's why it is important to pick it up yourself, because I'm not a preacher.
Huh?
I'm not a preacher. Okay.
No, but
I'm just a guide.
no,
a
but
little,
you are sharing your interpretation,
I'm
your
just-
understanding.
I'm just answering your question, but I'm just saying.
No, it's very, very helpful. Very helpful.
Yeah, Rahul.
The point that still kind of bothers and we talk about intellect is that in what way is all of this not somewhat similar in the Maya world of going and buying a lottery ticket? You buy a lottery in the hope that you'll win a bonanza. Here you dedicate your mind and your thought to certain practices because it is given in the relevant scripture. But at the end of the day, your future is already written, is already known. I have no control on it. I can strive, or I can convince myself that I'm walking the path of light or dark, or whichever I choose. I can choose Durga, I can choose Kali, night and day. But the outcome is not real. Because the Paramatma has already decided the future. He knows the future.
And what does he say about that?
All he says is he knows it.
No. What does he say about that in the earlier chapters? That depending on what karma you do, you will get the outcome.
Will it change my future?
Yes,
But we discussed that.
it's been done.
We discussed this point. And just giving a very stupid answer that if you don't buy a lottery, if you buy a lottery, you may or may not win. But you never buy a lottery, you'll never win.
That I buy. That's not it.
So anyway, that we are not getting into
I mean,
that just now.
nothing takes me away from path of striving, whichever way you think about it.
Okay. So any other questions?
So are we agreed that the aspect of the Uttarayan and this thing is symbolic and metaphorical?
It is
Or is there disagreement on that?
It is symbolic. Okay, because I don't have an explanation for metaphor. That's the only way I can answer.
Yeah, because Sloka 26 is sort of appears that it is symbolic.
Yeah.
Because it talks path of light or path of knowledge. Path of light is
It's
knowledge.
connected even to your
That's it says Shukla
mind.
and Krishna.
Sorry?
Uttarayan and the Krishna Paksha, the Shukla Paksha is linked to our mind also.
Yeah, mind, exactly, to the mind.
Yeah, it is connected.
Yeah.
So emotions.
Okay,
and
so you are
everything.
saying that physical and symbolic may be connected.
Yeah.
So what we are saying, what he's saying, maybe both be right.
The point is that that's the time when the light is
The
source
important-
of energy is the sun.
Yeah.
So during Uttarayan, you're closer to the sun, at least in the northern hemisphere. If you were in Australia, New Zealand, it would be
Different,
actually the
yeah.
other 6 months. When the moon is waxing, which is Shukla Paksha, again you are getting more light during the night hours. So basically, there's more brightness, there's more distance. So symbolically, the ability to follow the path of the
Just
light
like saying the moon affects even the tissue making.
Yeah.
It's a full.
Yeah.
It's the maximum light that you can
Yeah.
get at night.
Actually,
It's setting faith and
So the important thing
actually you're
is,
right. The gravity
just-
itself, the gravitational also changes with that. So I think both of us
so
may be right.
the important thing is to understand that there is a path which is there after your death and not worry about it, which is what he has said categorically. Okay, the Sagun aspect is operative in its own way. The Prakriti is operative in its own way. Okay, so when you talk about this, that everything is predestined, the Prakriti is operating in its own way, which is like, in a sense, some sort of destiny which is operative in its own way. Okay, but our individual effort gets rewarded whichever way our effort is. Okay, and therefore cause and effect has to apply. There is no option, otherwise this existence by itself
There's no meaning.
has no meaning, which you'll see yourself, and that cause and effect is going on. Now, when we therefore look at an aspect which is beyond, firstly, let's understand this universe. Okay, this existence is by itself what?
Manifestation of Brahman, so it's an
So
Maya.
it is not the truth. It's an illusion.
Illusion. It's illusion.
Okay,
It's my illusion.
each one's illusion.
Each one's illusion.
That existence, in that whatever you're doing, is only trying to purify yourself to understand what is that. What is that purification? Bringing your mind to a focus. How do you get it to focus? By following the practices of Karma Yoga and Bhakti. As soon as you understand that and follow those practices, your mind will become so pure, so sharp, so clear that you can see yourself, which is the essence of the entire thing. To worry about a lot of other things, they are peripheral. So, for example, suppose we were to look at stories out of Puranas, or we were to look at stories and themes out of Bhagwad. They'll tell you, talk about everything on this earth. Okay, so if you look at Manu Smriti, they talk about everything on this earth. But the knowledge, what is that essential practice which will help you to realize yourself? You're moving away from that. That's all. There is mention of that here. But it is not to say that you need to just get deluded by it. But it is to understand that there are such practices which are there. Like tantric practices. They are referred to. What you can do is what you have to attempt. Yeah? You can't do all the practices given here. Like the pranayam he talked about just in the last chapter. Difficult to do. But they are simple ones. And they are simple only to the extent that if you have Shraddha, then they are simple. If you don't have Shraddha, don't have trust, don't have faith, then they are not simple. That is the difference between your lottery and Bhagwan.
I want to give an example. Like my grandmother, she was not so literate. She was not very educated, but she used to do a lot of religious rituals and puja non-stop, sagun puja. So, but as she grew older and older, I saw that she was not able to do it. So and then she used to come and visit us frequently. So then when she came, so she was at that late 70s and all. So I just asked her, कि nowadays आप इतनी पूजा नहीं करते अब इतनी जितनी पहले करते थे. So she said, अब मेरी हर सांस में भगवान बस गए. अब मेरे को मतलब from Sadhguru herself she moved to Nirgun.
Correct.
So even without being literate, she could manage to move from the Sadhguru to the Nirgun. She said मेरी तो हर सांस में अब भगवान का नाम है. मुझे अब पूजा करने की इतनी जरूरत नहीं.
Because that's always there. That's what.
Yeah. So when we
Not
are,
today.
Because of the practice, she had such a long
So when we are-
practice of
you're right.
doing puja that it automatically came into her. Nobody had to
when
teach
we are
her also.
in,
Nobody
when
had
we
to
are in
teach her.
Grihastha ashram, we have to look after many things. So there are
Nobody
certain
had to
things
teach her.
which we can do at that time. Then we are sitting quietly, or we are at that age. Then in every thought, every moment, every saas, om or whatever it is. But the understanding in that is, it is not just that word om, the manifestation, the form of Vasudeva, whatever. It is that which is that ultimate, that which is one. Behind that, the mind has to stay on that. And today, when we are doing this, I'm sure that by the time we spend another 20 years after this and get closer to our departing time, we would have been able to do it, which is the purpose today. You will not get everything happening today. Repetitively going through it in your mind or doing something, it'll start sinking in. Yeah.
Somehow symbolically, sometimes when I think about it, as we go through these chapters, we have been going through these chapters, I'm reminded of some of the banyan trees that one has seen, especially these older ones that I'm sure some of you can sense some of the photographs. They're such amazing creations of nature where the root, the branch, the trunk, each merges. So which pathway you choose out of these different chapters, each chapter is giving us a different pathway. Ultimately, it merges back into the same central, the banyan tree.
Absolutely.
And you can be on this branch, you can climb from the other branch, you can go down to the root, but it's leading the same way. Whether you hit the
So there is a very interesting chapter 14, okay, which is of inverted tree. Universe being an inverted tree. We'll look at this specific case of what you're talking about as to how to define this according to the example you have given as well. Okay.
should be interesting.
Urdhavulam. Urdhavulam.
Urdhvulam.
Ulta पे.
Upside down.
Banyan.
No.
Yeah, banyan tree भी लिखते
Any
हैं
tree.
उसको, हाँ. Any tree, a big tree.
So I don't know what the chapter says, but it appears to me, instead of running after the fruit, I'm going back to the root.
So what he says is that the root is at the top.
Yeah.
And the root, the Brahma, is at the top.
Right.
Okay, that's how you can.
It grows in both directions.
So no, the conceptualization is in that. Okay, so that's all. So without deviating from our today's subject and allowing Krishna Bhagwan to take us through it, let's move to. If there are no questions, let's move to chapter 9.
It's not a question, I'm just saying something. I'm reading a book which is actually a bestseller, The Hidden Life of Trees. So it is how the trees, they communicate with each other and they send warnings to each other.
I have read it. So
You
what
must
you're
have.
saying, yeah. So there is all this happening, which is
Yes.
fine, which is good, but our context is something else today.
No, I know in the sense. What do I
You want to say something? Go ahead.
nahi.
Go ahead. I don't want to shut you up. Sorry.
There is so much in nature which is a part of Brahman, and like a bit like a grandmother, because earlier we had like a formal puja room and puja, etc., etc. But in my house there is no puja room because I don't feel the need for it. I'm not trying to be very pompous, but I feel the presence in everything, in small things, particularly in nature. So
Absolutely
is there
fine.
anything wrong? Am I
No,
not?
nothing wrong. Nothing
So
wrong.
that's very nice.
Yeah.
Attain that stage.
Yeah.
I don't know if I attained anything, but
But I really think so.
There's nothing wrong.
It's there in all animated,
Okay, so let's-
inanimate subjects. You are right.
Any question? Ask the question.
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9? Should we start with that? No, let's not give this, because what I'll do, I'll make the handouts so that they become inclusive of the other shlokas also, which we'll do next time. We'll just touch on it. Don't give it just now.
We don't need to open it.
Don't look at it. Modify it a bit, add a few things which I've been thinking of doing, because there is a certain sequence to things which will help in understanding. Okay? Because the more breaks you give in the chapter, the less you'll sort of remember some things from the previous. So what we have here is Bhagwan saying, and I'm going to use this to help us link back to something which we've already read. 8वें अध्याय में, in the 8th chapter, Sushumna Nadi Dwara. So we saw that in shloka number 10, 12. So Sushumna Nadi is the central channel. Okay. Sushumna Nadi द्वारा धारणा योग का अंगों सहित वर्णन किया है. So that he is called as Dharana Yoga. Dharana is concentration. Okay. Constant presence. In Yoga Sutra, it is the 7th stage, 6th stage. Sorry. So we have Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Okay, so Ashtang Yoga, as they call it. These are the 8 steps. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So Dharana is after Pratyahar. What is Pratyahar? Pratyahar is essentially distract.
Withdrawal of the senses.
That is Shamdam, Yam Niyam. Withdrawal of your senses from the objects. Okay, automatic withdrawal. You can't make an effort to do it. Okay, so that is Pratyahar. And then when Pratyahar happens, then only Dharana will happen, which is the Dharana which you saw, which is written in shlokas 10 and 12 of the previous chapter. So that practice comes after a lot of other things being done. Okay? It is not something which happens naturally. It's not easy for it to happen. It cannot be done. It happens. Okay, what has been said in Shloka 10. Okay. So this सुषुम्ना नाड़ी द्वारा धारणा योग का अंगों सहित वर्णन किया. In parts also he has described it, and any of this will lead to some few chapters to be written on it. Okay, if you go into people who write about Yoga Shastra, they will write a few chapters on it. Okay, it's not few shlokas in which this is getting described. Okay. और उसका फल, the outcome of that was given as Agni, ज्योति आदि की प्राप्ति के क्रम से. In steps you will obtain that Agni Devta, that Jyoti, etc., etc. क्रम से, कालांतर में, over a period of time, ब्रह्म प्राप्ति रूप अपुनर्वृत्ति रूप दिखलाया गया है. So what has he said in this statement? That in the 8th chapter, through the Sushumna Nadi, the explanation in with all the parts, with all the specificities, has been given for Dharana Yoga, which, if practiced, takes you to those Agni Devta and Jyoti Devta and all that, and over a period of time helps you realize Brahma, and you are able to get rid of the cycle of birth and death, rebirth, etc. Okay? So, simple summarization of chapter 8. Right? Now he says, there is a doubt which comes in. यहाँ एक शंका होती है, क्या इस प्रकार का साधन, this type of sadhan, this type of practice करने से मोक्ष प्राप्ति रूप फल मिलता है या और किसी प्रकार से भी मिलता है? So the doubt is that, is this the only way by which you can get liberation, or there is some other way as well? And that is what he is going to therefore look at. इस शंका को निवृत्त, to remove this doubt, he is going to now tell us about a certain set of practices, certain things in the 9th chapter. Okay, so that's the opening for the 9th chapter. That's why we spent a little extra time on 8th also, so that we understand that it is path which will help, and we'll understand some other paths now which will make us realize that ultimate. In fact, this particular Rajvidya Yoga says very clearly that you can realize yourself spontaneously. Okay? So it is not that you have to go through many steps like what have been described in the previous one. Now to distribute sheets, people want to sit and go through chapter 9, or it's time? I know. Okay. Any questions? Anything else? Anybody wants to say anything more? We have time. Yeah, please.
So we all want to, like, ultimate aim is, according to whatever you hear, is to get free from this cycle